Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing the On My Shelf tag. I was tagged to do this in September, it's been over 6 months now, by Emily, a fellow booktuber who I will link in the description below of course. You should go and check out her channel. She does some really interesting and informative videos about quite a selection of books which I always find really interesting. The idea of the tag is actually very simple. You ask people to give you numbers, however many you feel that you want to do, and those numbers correspond to locations on your shelves, and then you just pick that book and then show it and talk about it. Very simple. For mine, I've got 7 books. 6 of them were by other people. The last one, I chose the number for a very particular reason, which you'll see when I get to it. So let's start. The first book, I was not surprised to find it was actually a Discord book by Terry Pratchett, and that is Mort. This is the 4th book in the Discord series, unsurprisingly, and it is about death, actual death, as in a 7-foot skeleton who happens to be very good at his job, which is taking souls to the other side or wherever they happen to need to go, and he takes on an apprentice, as you do, and things don't exactly go according to plan because his apprentice is human, so things are a bit odd, and it's really a brilliant, funny book. And Death as a character, and he does appear in many books in fact, is a brilliant character because he's obviously totally non-human in every sense, but he's desperate to understand human emotion and humans themselves, because he works with people rather a lot, albeit not for very long periods of time due to them being in the process of dying. So basically it's a brilliant book, and Death is a brilliant character, oddly enough. The second book is the 18th book on my second shelf, just up there, and that is Beyond the Deepwood by Paul Stewart, and the illustrator is Chris Riddle. Chris Riddle has had quite a few mentions recently on other people's videos, I've noticed. And these books are brilliant. This is the first book in this world that he ever wrote. They have little pictures within them as well, all the way through, and they are brilliant books. I mean, really, really good books. This is about Twig, who ends up on an adventure across the world, and he ends up doing all sorts of things, and there's a very sad moment in the middle of the book. That's all I'm going to say, involving a certain large creature, which is really sad actually. It's one of the saddest moments in a book that I can remember. The next book is Shelf 3, and that is book 21, and that is Only Human by Tom Holt. I have about 10 books by him, all in this cover design by Orbit. This one is about when God decides to go on a fishing holiday for a few days, as you do, and he leaves his son in charge of the family business, obviously being Godwood, I suppose. And things don't exactly go according to plan because his son doesn't know how the business is run properly, due to obviously God's certain powers, unsurprisingly. It's a fantasy with a lot of humour in it. I mean, lots of humour. And I haven't read this one, actually. I've read most of his books that I've got, but not this one. Although I may now have to read it in the very near future, in fact, because this really has tempted me. The next book is Shelf 4, and that is book 36, and Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. This is one of the vintage red spines, which is actually just there normally. And this is a historical fiction to do with the bombing of Dresden, and I don't really know much about it, but I know it's meant to be a very powerful book. It's a very short book as well, and I do intend to get around to it, of course. I just haven't read it yet. I'm not going to say any more because this book is extremely well known. The 5th book is from Shelf 5, and that is book 24, and it is Prey by Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton is well known for having wrote the Jurassic Park books, the films of course as well. And this one is a technological thriller to do with nanotechnology that goes disastrously wrong, and I can't say too much because it will give away the book, but it's a really interesting plot line. I read it about 3 years ago and I really enjoyed it. I do want to read more by Michael Crichton. Actually, Jurassic Park is obviously a big priority for me, so I would recommend this to people though because it's really interesting. The 6th book is from the 6th shelf and it's book number 7 on it, and that is The Redeemer by Joe Nesbo. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. He is a Swedish author, if I remember correctly. I haven't read this book. This is a Harry Hole mystery. There is a series of them. There's at least 8 or 9 of them that I know of. I actually have 6 of them in this series, all of them unread. My sister brought me them as a set about 3 years ago for a present, birthday or Christmas, and I just haven't got around to them yet. They're detective thrillers. They do sound interesting, and to be honest I don't entirely know why I haven't read them. It's just one of those things. I mean, I do have a lot of unread books, so that's not really that surprising. And finally, the last book is from the top shelf, and that is 42, which is of course the answer to Life, the Universe and Everything. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference, obviously. And oddly enough, it is a science fiction book, and that is Arthur C. Clarke and The City and the Stars. I loved this book when I read it about 2.5, 3 years ago. It's a really interesting book about the idea of the last city on the planet remaining in the very far future. I mean, millions of years. The Earth has been essentially worn down through sheer time, and this city is now under a dome which is protecting it. People don't know their humanity anymore to that degree. Society is totally different from what we are now, and it's a really interesting novel with some really interesting ideas. I mean, I love Arthur C. Clarke, as you may have picked up by now, and I absolutely loved this book. I would recommend this to anybody who wants a really interesting book with some really curious and maybe odd ideas about what humanity could become if left alone and just to survive through sheer time without getting killed in war or anything like that. And I may well reread it actually because I love this book. So that's pretty much it for this video. I've actually really enjoyed doing this, as I've shown books that I would not otherwise show, or at least not anytime soon, because I have no plans to read some of them just yet, although some of them I do indeed plan to read quite soon. So I think it's a good selection of my very wide reading habits. If you've read any of these books, then please let me know and tell me what you thought of them, or if you'd like to read them then obviously say that as well. And that's pretty much it for the video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.